Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank CETT for the opportunity to participate in this Congress. I'm delighted to be here this morning to develop a talk with the title, What's New for Sustainability under the Smart Destination Approach. Sustainable and smart concepts applied to destinations are very, very close. Many times used with vague or ambiguous meanings. Even the rhetoric use of sustainability has also been adopted in the smart city, smart destination discourses. So sustainability is even assimilated into intelligence when there are still two realities under construction. So the main goal of my talk today is to explore the current contribution of the smart approach to the sustainability of tourism destinations, being my main focus of analysis, the smart destinations initiatives developed in Spain. Smart destinations are dearly connected to technology. If you allow me, the new religion. Technology is a key element for smart destination development, but it is not enough by itself for achieving more smart destinations. Nowadays, destinations are not sustainable, the vast majority of them, nor smart. And many managers and politicians are even talking about not smart, but smarter destinations. So the same thing happened to the concept of sustainable destination. Sustainable and smart destinations are not an idealized state, but a process that it is starting now in many places. And the idea is to evaluate which is the direction that this process is taken and how smartness can help to achieve the goal of sustainability. We heard yesterday at this Congress that technology could do it all. I'm a little bit skeptical about this statement. At least I will consider the cost-benefit analysis of applying technology. But according to the great expectations about technology, we can formulate this question. This question: can the magic of technology solve a wicked problem like sustainability? Many answers and nuances are possible to these provocative questions. Not alone, not yet, and probably never, but technology could help to improve sustainability and smart destination approaches. And the smart destination approach may be the right framework to do it. So, according to this short introduction, the contents of my talk are structured in these 6 points. First of all, the paradox of the institutionalization process of sustainable tourism and the parallel growth of the industry, the role of ICT in the sustainable tourism debate, the analysis of sustainable tourism in smart cities initiatives, the omnipresence of sustainability in smart destination models and the doubts about its real impact, and if we are evolving towards smart sustainability after presenting shortly this concept. And to finish, a proposal of a new framework for addressing sustainability from a smart perspective. At least from the 90s, from the Rio Sustainable Development Summit, many international congresses, reports have embraced the sustainability, but the growth of international and domestic tourism only have been stopped by several periods of crisis. So it is quite paradoxical. All the institutional movement favoring the discourse of sustainability and the permanence or even the growth of social, economical, and environmental impacts of tourism. Even international bodies and obviously academics recognize that the scarce progress towards a sustainable tourism from the 90s till now. The new milestone, at least the milestone from the 2015, is the 2030 agenda for the Sustainable Development Goals. Maybe we can formulate another question. If it's the definitive call for action, considering further the unequivocal effects of climate change. So are we changing from the rhetorical discourses to the real action? Now tourism is perceived, at least is included above all in three sustainable development goals. Number 8, decent work and economic growth. 12, responsible consumption and production. And 14, life below water. But we think tourism as a transversal activity may be included in all the 17 goals. About these goals, it is important also to highlight the connection of the goal number 11 to the smart cities paradigm. Okay, what about the ICTs in the sustainable tourism debate? Traditionally, some research about that have identified a marginal role of technology in the complex and long debate about sustainability. But more recently, we must recognize 3 main items. The first one is the recognition of the impacts of technology as agent of growth, change, and disruption. Remember the accommodation in platforms on the social media like Instagram that contributes, as the new below this slide says, that contributes to the destruction of, or at least to the congestion of many natural and cultural wonders. The second point is it's the contribution of technology to a better tourism management. The other side of this slide contains the many possibilities that can be achieved using sensoring. Sensoring in this case by the Spanish enterprise Libelium. We can measure nearly everything, and measure mobility, buildings, environmental variables, and everything could be measured. So the contribution to technology is maybe in a hype, but it is also a potential contribution. However, as Susan Becken has analyzed, focusing in the difficulties for decarbonizing tourism, however, technological solutions can trigger a greater consumption and growth in demand despite maximizing efficiency. So we can be, on one side, more efficient, but in the other side, we can promote higher consumption rates of natural resources. Another point in my analysis of today is the difficulty of evaluating a developing process as the smart city, the smart destination is a reality that is under construction. A reality that can be analyzed from an evolutionary perspective. For example, the 3 generations of smart cities that have been identified by Boy Cohen, from the technology-centric vision to the government one, to the citizen or human-centric vision. Or from a technological point of view, this model of Telefonica that differentiates between vertical city without any coordination, the horizontal one, the connected city with more interoperable systems, and the smart city that make a profit of all its connectivities. Even the smart city focus change in many places. There is a dichotomic view of smart cities that in some sense could be applied to smart destinations, differentiating between the technology versus people-oriented, the technology-led or holistic strategy, the initiative, the smart initiative, more based in hard infrastructure, transport, water, energy, versus more intangibles, soft infrastructures, social and human capital, knowledge, the vision of a top-down smart city as many cities developed in Asia, or the bottom-up smart cities, the supply versus demand-driven approach. In this sense, the technology supply-driven, in many cases, is fueling many smart projects. The monodimensional focus of our smart cities, or the integrated intervention logic, or even the double or the quadruple helix model of innovation, of collaboration. So each city is in a concrete development stage and has a focus that even can change if local government also change. And there are many, many examples about that. So in order to analyze sustainability under the smart destination, or under the smart in general, under the smart approach, it is very, very important to recognize the high diversity of smart projects that we can identify all over the world. An important point in the smart approach linked to sustainability are indicator systems, because indicators are very important to concrete the real meaning of smart cities. It happened with sustainable tourism. The use of indicators allow us also to more clearly state what a sustainable destination is. So the idea, as Aveneri said, is to identify how sustainability targets can be achieved with the help of smartness. Above all, because the indicator systems are also connected with international standards, and international standards is a way that many cities taking to develop the SMART project, the combination of standards, international standards of management, together with indicators. But at least the first generation of SMART indicators systems include only partially sustainability and justify, as many papers recognize, the use of smart and sustainable systems. Smart indicator systems should be widened in its scope and contents to cover all the complexity of sustainability. Many international standards, as the standard we are seeing on the screen, the ISO 3720, are very interesting for benchmarking cities on an international or even a national way. But we need to develop local indicator systems to tackle better all the sustainability aspects. And what about tourism inside these international standards? We have checked the main smart and sustainable standards, and the role of tourism is minor or non-existent in this type of indicator systems for cities. In spite of the fact of the great importance of managing tourism in cities, at least in the pre-COVID-19 era. As Laura Alto said yesterday, the CEO of Helsinki Marketing, the need of embedding tourism in the city-wide agenda contrasts with the scales, with the minor position of tourism in the smart and sustainable indicators for urban spaces, for cities. That makes necessary specific sustainability indicators for tourism, for every type of destination, like they presented here at this Congress yesterday in the Mediterranean area, for example. Another point, another key point about the relationship between smartness and sustainability is the issue of efficiency. There are many reports made by technological companies that emphasize the return on investment of smart actions, above all, saving cost. And this is a very positive contribution of technology to sustainability. We can say in this example of a recent report, how on average, the saves in energy and electricity could be more than 3%, or in terms of waste, 3.5%, even achieving more than 5% in the leader city. So this is an interesting point. But which is the experience of cities about the application of these technologies to sustainability, at least in the Spanish context? We have made an exploratory survey to smart cities and destination managers in Spain, a total amount of 37 cities, and all the managers, and this Likert scale from 1 to 7, agree with the statement that smart initiatives have favored a more sustainable cities. This is a positive point. Another positive point is the specific results that they themselves state in the questionnaire show us incremental change, more positive in several areas that we can highlight here in transparency, in services to citizens, in energy efficiency, sustainable mobility and waste management, or in accessibility. Other items have received lower or even negative scores, as the biodiversity protection, the noise pollution management, the tourism congestion reduction. So There are no magical technological solutions for the problem of a tourism, according to these exploratory results, or even, this is quite surprising, no progress or no at least significant progress in terms of public safety. If we focus a little bit more our analysis, and I repeat, it is an exploratory analysis, according to the smart approach of considering this smart city, smart destination model as a system composed by three interrelated levels: the strategic relational level, the governance level, the instrumental level, and the applied level. We ask the managers to highlight the most relevant actions in their own cities. And this gives us an idea in red in this slide of what are the most relevant actions developed by the cities. That could help us to understand better the main goals that are behind the smart city strategy and the smart destination strategy. In this first slide, this is the results of the smart city managers. So in red, we can highlight how the smart city is contributing to electronic administration in a very clear difference with other aspects. From the sustainability point of view, there are very positive mobility programs, sustainable mobility included in this. From the instrumental level, two many interesting points: the sensoring of the city in one side, and the other side, the digital platforms for managing the cities. And from the point of view of residents, and in the applied level, e-administration services and mobile apps. Mobile apps is a solution that the smart city projects are also providing together with public Wi-Fi to tourists in these most relevant actions stated by the managers. What about the smart destination responses? This is with a lower response. Sustainability, it's a goal like accessibility, but there are no clear advancements stated by the managers. The most relevant actions, according to them, in terms of the strategic relational level, is the incorporation into the CETT-UB program. So for several destinations, the fact of being included in the CETT-UB program constitutes a relevant action, a factor that indicates many municipalities are in early stage of development of their smart destination projects. A very important point from the smart destination point of view, business intelligence systems as a key point of the strategy as a most relevant action. And between the different actions highlighted in the applied level, the use of my mobile apps. In spite of the fact that many destinations in a qualitative analysis are questioning the use of local mobile apps. Okay, the next point in my presentation is the recognition of sustainability of an omnipresent factor in nearly each smart destination model. This is the case of the smart destination label of CETT-UB, the smart destination standard created by CETT-UB together with AENOR, that includes between the four main axes sustainability. It is also the case of the Invatur in the Valencian region that has developed a CETT-UB, a regional network of smart destinations, following a model in which sustainability is, again, a main pillar. And to finish, sustainability of one of the main areas between the 4 categories recognized in the European Capital of Smart Tourism Initiatives. From the academic point of view, sustainability is also a main topic in the smart tourism destination research. A very recent paper by Bastidas Manzano et al. Identified these main topics of research connected with smart destinations, and sustainability is one of them. But it is also interesting to consider the percentage of papers focused on sustainability are scarce compared, above all, with the great interest that technology has, obviously, in the smart tourism destination research domain. Okay. According to this omnipresence of sustainability, it is important to ask ourselves the scope of sustainability actions in smart destinations initiatives. And I think we can identify a spectrum from the greenwashing initiative with very, very small progresses towards sustainability to a real, the most positive pole, to a real smart sustainability. Smart initiatives can also be referred, as was the case of sustainable tourism, and in the very interesting work by Hunter, as an adaptive paradigm, from very weak, strong, very strong. And if we make a general analysis of sustainable tourism nowadays, its current positions could be very weak or weak advancements depending on each destination, obviously. So another point important here is the model of a smart destination is so ambitious, including accessibility, technology, business intelligence, and so on, that, in my opinion, is simplifying the complexity of sustainable tourism. This is the case of the smart indicator systems that do not cover all the complexity of the economic, environmental, and sociocultural dimensions of sustainability. That's why we need to still develop specific sustainable tourism indicators, but adding the contribution of technology and even the vision of a smart destination, a kind of a mix of a smart and sustainable system of indicators, as is happening in the smart cities more general domain. So to finish this aspect, it is also important to take into account the recent paper published by Francesc González Reverté, studying the plans related to the smart city and destination strategy. Its main conclusions are the lack of a transversal approach in plans with a sectoral orientation. The sectoral focus is a problem to tackle sustainability as a holistic reality. The application of few technological solutions, in spite of the fact that great hype about technology, it is more difficult to identify concrete solutions in the smart destination plans, or a low level of development of information systems, indicators included. And a very important point, the maintenance of the pre-existing urban tourism models without a clear will to transform towards more sustainable patterns. So the current tourism models at a local level are not questioned by the development of smart city plans, an issue to which we are going to develop further. But what's smart sustainability? Are we evolving towards smart sustainability? In this slide, we can find a synthesis of the synergies that could be created between smartness and sustainability. The idea is to use technology and the smart approach to improve several aspects of the destination and city management from the point of view of tourism. For example, these synergies could be created in the planning and scenarios building task according to inserted in the management process. For example, simulation tools or predictive analysis applied to tourism and urban management. The use of more efficient, the more efficient use of resources, as we said before, the real-time management that is a potentiality that is not yet developed in the same sense as it appears in the media, for example, or the monitoring systems. I go back to the indicator systems. Imagine automatically updated indicators. There are many possibilities in the instrumental part of indicators. The more public and private cooperation, thanks to the use of different types of technology, together with the greater transparency and participation, social participation, or the customization of tourist services, the mass customization even in the more mature destinations, or open innovation connected with some concepts like green innovation or circular economy. So there are many possibilities, but I think it is important to acknowledge that ICT still have an unrealized potential to contribute to sustainability. So there is many things to do to really exploit the potential of technology in the field of sustainable tourism. But the magic of ICTs decreases when we consider this set of risk, barrier, problems of using technology to improve sustainability. So we need public investment. The use of technology can create new dependence relationships with technological companies or with data providers. There are many development difficulties in the current legal framework. There are also cybersecurity problems. In many cases, we are analyzing experimental projects that have a significant cost and that never become consolidated. That's innovation, but we also need to recognize the limits of innovation in these fields. There are also problems of privacy for citizens and tourists, and even a gap between users and non-users of technology. Could be people or companies that make a different use of technological solutions. Or another point that is not too much analyzed, the energy consumption of new technologies. Okay, the incremental benefits of the use of technology are welcome, but the programs towards sustainability requires a more general reflection on the urban tourist model. If not, we take the risk, as Brent Oderian says in the tweet we have in the slide, of doing the wrong things better. For example, attracting more and more tourists, excursionists to crowded places. So a reflection is needed in order to identify the right things to do on a destination from the sustainability point of view, and to try to improve and learn to do better the right things we need to do. This last reflection allow us to introduce the current challenges for researchers and practitioners. Very shortly, a very important challenge is the decarbonization of tourism to achieve carbon neutral destinations, as is the goal of Helsinki for 2035. That requires improvements in measurement, the reduction of consumption and grid energy efficiency, the generation of renewable energies, or the development of offset compensatory mechanism. Also, an interesting challenge is to avoid linear economies with permanent growth of resources consumption and waste generation, and to focus our strategy in circular economy. We talk about regenerative tourism. This is one of the buzzwords of the pandemic crisis, but it is also very important to talk about regenerative cities and destinations. And this goal could be achieved using the circular economy model, acknowledging its limitations also, for example, in terms of protecting biodiversity. In some sense, circular economy is promoting a closed system that requires a wider perspective, and a wider perspectives of analysis and action is always important in the field of sustainability. In this sense, it is very important to overcoming the urban bias of smart city and destination models. We need to manage the mismatch between administrative and ecological boundaries. For example, at my province, in Alicante province, we have achieved great efficiency in water management systems. But what about the volume of water consumed? Where does this water come from? Are we still depleting underground resources? So the challenge of integrating ecological systems in all its complexity into sustainable and smart policies still remains important. And at this point, regional scale is a fundamental pillar to progress in the sustainability of destinations. Another challenge is the social dimension, a dimension that has been neglected in sustainable policies, and this risk is also present in smart policies. So the problems of precarious employment in tourism, or the processes of gentrification, the crowding of public space, and so on. In this sense, I think it's important this project, Smart Test, coordinated by the University of Rovira i Virgili in Tarragona, that try to analyze processes of social exclusion in cities provoked by the high range of mobilities we have in the pre-COVID era and nowadays. Many social exclusion processes that could be tackled with smart city engagement and with new forms, bottom-up, more conscious about the social issues of the smart cities and destination models. And to finish with these current challenges, the tandem of sustainability and digitalization as the key points for the COVID-19 recovery. There are many opportunities of linking in this recovery process sustainability, and digitalization. But there are also many risks, as the ones we have summarized in this presentation. To finish, I would like to shortly present a kind of new framework for addressing sustainability from a smart perspective. The starting point is measuring, developing the Icts capacity for measuring from an integral perspective, including new data sources, integrating, analyzing, visualizing data using big data techniques, facilitating a key issue, the interoperability of systems to promote networks and to make its functioning more efficient, and also combine quantitative objective indicators with qualitative information from participatory planning. Measuring is the first step to think or rethink our tourism model. I think it is at this level, at the governance level, this is the engine that moves the smart destination. It is very important to try to define a more sustainable tourism model, or redefine if it's the case. And in this task, we need the participation of local actors. After doing that, after this strategic process, it is very important the communication phase. And communication should be oriented to change the behavior of agents, improvements in public management, in greater business awareness, responsible behavior of residents and tourists, and open all data for innovative projects. To progress to sustainability, every agent must change the pre-COVID behavior. I'm absolutely convinced about that. The restart of tourism must consider ecological, social, and economic threats as the excessive dependence on tourism. So we must change our mind and our behavior in order to progress efficiently to sustainability. And that's the last point in this management cycle, the action. The action with the involvement of all the stakeholders, developing a real commitment, not a rhetorical one, to sustainability, to promote sustainable tourism experiences, and at this sense, with a clear emphasis on innovative actions. Many thanks for your attention. I think now it's time for the debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ivars Baidal. It has been a very inspiring lecture. And now we have several questions from our audience. I think that we might have time for a couple of them. So the first one would be that if you think that there is any underrepresented aspect when analyzing urban tourism sustainability and smartness through local indicators.
Mm-hmm. So I think there is a neglected dimension, which is the social one, in all the aspects we can consider about the quality of life of residents, the attitudes towards tourism, the effects on jobs, and the movements of people due to gentrification, touristification, and so on. This is one point from the sectoral indicators, but I think there is also a lack of understanding of tourism in the general indicator systems used on an integral level for cities. And that's why we need to coordinate better information about tourism with the information about the functioning of the city. I think this is a key point to improve and to make more efficient information systems as a local level, in a local level.
Thank you very much. So I think that we have time for more questions. Another one would be that someone from our audience comments that neutralizing carbon is considered to be as a national scale problem. So in this sense, tourism is just responsible of part of the problem. Accordingly, we would like to know whether you think that there should be some kind of coordination between tourism and other industries when they want to fight or when they want to put all the efforts in order to neutralize carbon emissions.
This is a really interesting question. And there are many global problems that cannot be solved only from the action at a local level, but local governments, local destination can contribute. And in this sense, what is more important in terms of the carbon emissions is air travel. And what we need is a commitment in national, as you said, and international agreements in order to reduce this tourist footprint in gas emissions and in the contribution of tourism to climate change. That is not the 4% that is was believed some years ago. It's close to 10%. Okay, but I think in the local destinations, what we can do is starting by measuring which is the contribution of our model to this global problem. And then it's how to manage long-haul markets, for example, attracted to our destination that has a high ecological footprint with the sustainability of our own destination.
So thank you so much, Dr. Ivars Baidal. So now I will switch to Spanish because the following. Thank you. I will switch now to Spanish because the following presentations will be in this language. We will switch again to English at 12 with the lecture of the other keynote speaker and the presentations of the papers that have been submitted in English to the Congress.